Yeah, we think if we raise about $1 million, that will allow us for the next 8.5 years to maintain a $20,000 a month payment, which then as our budget continues to grow, it will every year, it will become less than 20%. That will allow then our ministries and our staffing budgets to continue growing. Most churches follow up a first campaign with a second campaign. It's actually very common. A second thing to think about is that since we began the campaign almost 4 years ago, we've grown by 89%. There's a lot of people that haven't been able to participate even in the first campaign. But even saying that, that doesn't mean that the campaign is going to be done primarily through the new people God has brought our way in the last year, 2, 3, or 4 years. It's all of us, once again, just surrendering to God. There's no requirement. We're not going down the row and saying, okay, what are you going to give? What are you going to give? We're just asking God's people to open their hands once again and say, God, everything I have is yours. It's not mine, it's yours. To create these spaces, what we are asking people to do is to look beyond their regular giving amount. We're not looking to include this as part of our budget. It's kind of like that first campaign. This is separate from your regular offerings. And we'll be talking about it a lot in March, just asking people what they can do beyond their regular week in and week out gifts to help us create these spaces in these 3 important arenas. Yeah, if we don't raise the money, then more of our budget will go towards the debt reduction than we think should. But we're really trusting God. We don't think this is an outlandish amount of money, and we've been praying and planning toward this for a long time. So I don't know, maybe I just have a lot of faith, but that thought doesn't even cross my mind. I think people are excited about creating these spaces and the role God might have for them to play. In fact, I'm anticipating, boy, how soon do we want to pay it off? Maybe we'll be able to pay it off a lot more quickly than 8.5 years. I tend not to think about the what if we can't. I think about what are we going to do with the excess, and that's an exciting problem. It's terrible timing. It's terrible timing, which is what tells us this is a God thing, because we went with our first campaign, people pledged a lot of money, and then this recession hit, the greatest recession since the Great Depression. To me, there's no explanation for all the money that came in except God's blessing. That people were determined to follow through on what they had committed to do, and God blessed them to be able to do it. So is this a good time for us to try projects like this? Well, I guess it depends on who's in control. If God is in control, there's no better time. When we do financial counseling, we tell people that they want to try to maintain 25% or less of their personal budgets goes toward their housing. So I guess you can kind of look at it that way. We want to look at it similarly, that a similar amount or less should go towards our housing of our building. And for us, a big piece we got to remember is the church is not a building. So the less emphasis we could put on a building, the better. So the sooner we could pay it off, yet the less is part of our annual budget, the better. Yeah, we're asking everybody to pray. We're asking people to jump into this through time. And we're asking them just to ask God, we're not asking people to give what God is not urging them to give. We want no manipulation involved in this whatsoever. So we just want people to pray. We want people to participate. You can participate in many ways in our Creating Spaces project. But we really just want people to have open hands before God and live a life of surrender and say, everything I have is yours. Every gift I have, my family is yours. Every asset I have, every penny I have is yours. What part of what is already yours do you want me to allocate for Creating Spaces project? And that's all we're asking people to do. If people feel like this is primarily about money, I don't think they'll catch the joy of what all of Creating Spaces is about. Yeah, it's easy to think about that it's only people that can give really large gifts that can make a difference. But I can tell you from my own family, my 3 children participated in the Open the Door campaign, And all of them gave what for any adult would seem like a very small amount. For them, it was a challenge. And not only was it a challenge, they had a mindset that this was for the sake of the gospel. And so we don't think that large gifts necessarily do more. This is about the heart of the giver. This is about all of us coming together to do something that no one of us could accomplish alone. We really believe every gift is significant and important. Some people are bothered by the realities of money and debt, but here's the truth. Jesus really did talk more about money than heaven or hell combined. He talked more about money than faith. He talked more about money than any topic that I know of. And we just have to face that reality, that the way we handle our money is very much tied to our spirituality. They're combined. They are very related. Where our treasure is, that is where our heart is. And there actually is a sense in which doing a Creating Spaces project allows us to help people place their treasure where they want their heart to be.